Hey everybody, happy hump day. Um, this is a like literal immediate reaction, okay? And it's about as live as I'll probably ever be. Um, to the Depp versus her documentary. I just happened to see this morning and I just finished it. And I am disturbed and triggered for many reasons on many levels. I am somebody who I think has really grown to a point, or is growing to a point where I am finding it may have to be essential for me to reject to some degree as much as is possible for one art and the artist as far as putting money in their pocket. In this documentary, there's a man who put it very simply. I think Johnny Depp is a great actor. I also think he's a violent lover. And that is essentially what I think. I've always found Johnny Depp acting incredibly, just impressive. And his ability to take on a character and everything. Can't take that away from him. But what I won't do is defend people for the sake of defending them, especially when we know that women are abused every single day. And some of you, many of you, know intimately, one way or another, even if it's just been a friend in your life. But this happens to us. Everything that they described throughout that case, him choking her, him, getting really drunk, blacking out, laying her on the tile floor, smacking her across her face because she asked him about his Winona Ryder tattoo, and she laughed, and the next thing she knew, she was on the carpet. Um, him punching her over and over again, her punching him because she saw him hit her sister, which is probably maybe the only time you can get the strength. It's usually when it's somebody else. Was disheartening to me, but it was also very much in line with what I have read, not shit I've just heard, read about actual domestic violence victims, the kinds of violence that men will perpetuate against you, the kicking, the choking, the humiliating, the debasing. Her being beat up on that plane, or kicked in the back and falling and nobody doing anything is very believable to me. I was bothered for several reasons. When I saw that this case was going to happen in Fairfax, Virginia, not that we don't know injustice exists everywhere, but in the deep South, in the South in particular. And this is not to say that people don't get away with it because we know there is no place, space, or shape, but especially in the South where you have very draconian laws and you have people, the right wing evangelicals, because people who are Christians are not necessarily right wing evangelicals. We can make an argument that right wing evangelicals are just right wing people who hobby at Christianity. But nevertheless, they permeate the culture in the South, particularly that is political. And so the idea that a man, particularly a white man of great means and celebrity, taking place in a southern state, I was like, ugh, this is already rigged against her. That judge is a piece of shit. That judge should have never, even as I was beginning to watch the documentary, I was like, wait, all this shit was live. People should not have had access to this. And I remember hearing about the case, but I didn't really pay attention that much. It just was like, okay, whatever. I really didn't. I wasn't invested. I believed her because I remember when I had read her Washington Post article, and I remember finding out that she had split that money between the organizations, the ACLU and the Children's Hospital. I said, one, she knew it was dirty money in the sense that it came from him. And Pledge and Donate, they showed. Now, to me, Pledge and Donate seemed like two different things, right? When she said, "No, I pledged you the money," and the lawyer was like, "No, did you pledge it or donate it?" Now, to me, I was with Will, like maybe she did lie about it. And then it shows, multiple celebrities, this, that, and the other. You can pledge and donate, and organizations you can pledge and donate interchangeably. So simply because the lawyer didn't have the same definition as Amber Heard, it can appear a certain way, right? And the identity politics in all of this. Johnny Depp hires a female attorney and a male attorney, but his lead attorney really was essentially a female, to try to take away from what Amber Heard was saying. And I remember saying, even if she didn't pay that money to the Children's Hospital ACLU, what difference does it make in terms of the defamation, in terms of the violence? Suppose she needed the money. Suppose she did that. Because it's all about, right, the one thing you have to do is you have to get at somebody's credibility, which is why I didn't think that any of this should have been broadcasted live. And then to get to the end of the documentary and people have to crowdfund to pay for the actual transcripts of the trial, right? Where you actually get to see things holistically, not little clips on TikTok and YouTube and commentary on social media. That costs. Whereas having a TikTok account, a YouTube account, that kind of stuff is free. And the hatred, the vitriol of men and women toward her, she's automatically lying. We know this stuff happens. And I don't, people are always like, well, I know it happened, but it didn't happen to her. The fuck it didn't. The fuck it didn't. And when you're calling people to the witness stand that fucking worked for Johnny Depp, okay, are we really supposed to sit here and believe that Johnny Depp's rich ass, okay, that his ass has not paid these people off? Not that I recall. Not that I recall. I was on a plane. Did he seem intoxicated? What seem intoxicated? Seem, motherfucker, you had been his driver, chauffeur, whatever the fuck you were on that plane. You had seen that motherfucker drunk plenty of times. Quit playing with me. Okay, stop. But you could remember that, oh, when she got on the plane, she seemed really pouty and was giving him the cold shoulder. You can remember that. But you can't remember nobody getting fucking dogged out drunk, and Amber Heard has the recordings of him screaming this, that, and the other. And then you're watching the videos of him slamming the cabinets and cursing her out, or them having an argument, this, that, and the other. Let me tell you something. Men putting their hands on women is absolutely fucking unacceptable. To me, is assault. And it should be prosecuted as assault. Because I think having intimate partner violence / domestic violence and treating them as misdemeanors until that woman is usually murdered. Male victims don't usually end up murdered. And that's a very minuscule case. All right, you can check out the University of Washington study on that and multiple studies from various universities over the years. That's very minuscule, and it tends to be, even when we talk about that, there is often an element of same-sex relationships where men are victims of domestic violence. So it's not the same as having a woman's sort of like lack of strength. Or, I mean, when it's a one-on-one between two men and two women, it's a little different. It doesn't make it right, but I'm saying, but the one-on-one in terms of like a man physically being able to dominate a woman at any point is a problem. And the number of people outside cheering for him for a defamation suit was disgusting to me. What the fuck are you getting out of that? You hate this woman because you like who this man is on screen. You don't know him. We had to learn our lesson from R. Kelly. I did, at least. Had to learn our lesson from the college. I can't even look at that anymore. And that to me was one of the first healthy examples I ever saw of a relationship, what a family could be, of how kids can make mistakes and come back home, this, that, and the other. And all it was a projection of who Bill Cosby wanted people to think he was. He's a goddamn rapist. And we all know that simply not going to jail, not being convicted, and settling out of court does not mean you are innocent. Even if you're found not guilty, it does not mean you are innocent. And let's not act like this system isn't rigged. And I'm gonna tell you what else bothers me. When we say, "Oh, justice, it was in the court," we'll just wait for the courts. Like people have done a million times with Bill Cosby over and over again. And then raggedy ass people that still got the nerve to be doing that shit for R. Kelly, send them to jail just because. People defended him, just send them to jail. Anyway, because who you defend says a lot about you. It says a lot about you. Okay, and I'm not talking about somebody playing basketball team and somebody rooting for the Knicks versus, I don't know, what's the other kind of team they have? The Nets, the Bulls, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who you defend in times of serious situations says a lot about you. Donald Trump's first wife said in their divorce, it is documented in the divorce, that he raped her. Then comes Stormy Daniels. Then come other women who have received hush money. Then come 4 indictments. Imagine if this shit was zipped in the budget. I feel bad for her. Not only that, when they brought up the Kate Moss thing, first of all, he's significantly older than her. Okay? She's 37. I'm 35. He is like 64. He's older than both my parents, by the way. And Kate Moss was 11 years younger than him. So he has a habit of dating younger women. Why? Because it gives him an opportunity to perpetuate control. And younger, I don't mean 2 to 5 years apart. All right, whatever. I'm talking about much younger. And the Kate Moss incident, and Kate Moss actually, Amber Heard opened up a door when she brought up her name. She said, I thought of that. I knew of a rumor. And she probably like other women. Well, he wouldn't do that to me, in first meeting him. Well, he never went to a court of law and it was never proven. Just because people don't take it to court doesn't mean it didn't happen. And then when they even brought up the brief clip of the Kate Moss relationship, they still described it as volatile. They have her, under oath. She says, Johnny Depp never kicked me down the stairs. And they said, well, did he ever hit you, punch you, make you slide down the stairs? The result is he never kicked me, punched me, helped me slide down the stairs and hurt myself. I fell. But I'm going to tell you what I picked up because I'm not stupid. She kept over and over and over again saying, down the stairs, referring to that particular incident. So when the event that somebody did come out about his previous abuse, because let me tell you something, men like this are repeat offenders. He didn't just start doing that when he met Amber Heard. But Amber Heard is also younger, is coming about in the Me Too movement. Do you know the level of bravery and vulnerability it takes to actually admit these things happen to you? It kills me. It's the way, and I just think black people need to generally do better than this. Granted, we didn't really see black people put the profiles on this at all. I'm just making a point because we will watch videos and have, okay, and we're not just talking about the 90s Rodney King beating, all right? We're not even talking about even when it was on tape and those people were found innocent. George Floyd's killer gets time, but they go all around the different kinds of ways he got locked up, but it wasn't for murder. It's like all these other things that add up to time in jail. And we know that. And we know white people will look us in the face, whether they're looking at us on the news or face to face at a job, randomly at a bar, and we're not even talking to them, and tell us that what we saw isn't the whole thing, isn't the whole story. They must have done something that's not real, that's not true. And simply because, well, the jury didn't agree to it, this, that, and the other, so Must not be true. No, fuck that shit. Juries make bad decisions. And that judge, let me get back to your ass because I forgot I was on you. Fuck you. You need to be pulled off the bench. Number one, that shit should have never been live, should have never been that fucking accessible digitally where people could comment and everything else. You know how fucking shameful that is? That increased the amount of harassment against this woman. And you, as a woman, shut up, Kim Michelle, as a woman, I expect you to do better. Two, that jury should have been sequestered. This is, hell, the jury in the OJ's case was fucking sequestered. Okay, and this is long before, the internet really got rolling, where you had social media apps, where you had this overwhelming access to information, whether it be true or false, or somewhere in between. Okay, so their kids, so their husbands, so their friends showed them TikTok videos and YouTube videos. Maybe y'all not even checking these people's phones. They were admonished. I admonish kids in school all day. Go to the bathroom and come right back. Why are you in the library? I admonish kids all day. Don't stand. Don't lean back in that chair. Don't lean back in that chair. Fall on your ass. I admonish people all the time. It does not mean they won't do it. And I think it's upsetting to me because I know that here's a woman, at least a means, who's not as big of a star as Johnny Depp, and don't act like celebrity does not have this ridiculous power in our culture. And you become a celebrity by creating art and fantasy and perpetrating ideas. And we've all been guilty of. We also live in a society that pushes celebrity. It becomes easy to be without talent. And so you start liking and defending people just because you see them a lot. Something must be great about them. And I can be guilty of that. I'm guilty of that with being a Beyonce fan since, Bills. And no. When I hear people hating on her, I'm just like, okay. And yes, I do see this hating, especially men, because I'm like, men who say they don't like Beyonce, I question lots of things about them, even if they're not like a super fan. I also question men who tend to say they don't like Beyonce, this, that, and the other. And it has, in those occasions, has been a reflection of also how they see women who are successful. So I know it's a stretch, but I'm just saying we can all, and I use that anyway. That's getting a little off, but I'm just making a point anyway. That just as sure as this is a woman of means, a woman who's been in Aquaman, big Marvel films, just as sure as that's happened to her, that could happen to me. That could happen to you. That could happen to your mother. May have happened to your mother, your sister, your friend, your cousin, people who you love. And if somebody was telling them to their face about something, one, you witnessed, and you knew other people had witnessed it and won't open their fucking mouth, how would you feel? How would you feel? And all the girls found that. And that's when, when you go to an all girls college, these things kind of, you tend to see it more because you only have women, right? So it increases. It's just like when you go to a black college, there's certain things that come up that will come in conversation regularly, like police brutality, in a way it wouldn't if you went to a majority white school. It just wouldn't, because it affects us. Who was raped by a guy she considered to be her friend. She thought he was her friend. And had just gone over, to hang out with him. He raped her. And had gotten the strength to confide in her parents, who, immediately to their credit, came down to help her file charges, and she did not want to do it. And I'm purposely not giving, because that's still somebody's private life, because she said it would ruin her senior year. And she knew this guy was a frat guy. He would begin a narcissistic abusive smear campaign. I'm saying that that's what he would have done. And she wouldn't have been able to enjoy any aspect of it. And she had already been raped by him. Talk about being between a rock and a motherfucking hard place. Be 22 years old, scared, applying to law school, trying to get your mental health together. And this son of a bitch is walking around. If he did it to her, and we talking about senior year in college, you You know he's done this to multiple women. And be a frat boy? Bullshit. Bullshit. And I stand with Amber Heard. And I don't give no two fucks about it. Men who do that ain't shit. The fact that it's not prosecuted as a crime, because I guarantee you, if it was prosecuted as a heavier motherfucking crime, that shit would stop. It ain't like drugs, like where you addicted and shit. Men that do that and then get comfortable enough to do it, the more money, the more power. Don't act like that didn't play a role in this case. That jury ain't shit. Fuck all that. And I stand with Amber Heard, and I stand with any woman who has experienced domestic violence, has come out about it, and hasn't been believed. Because nothing is more hurtful than to make yourself vulnerable to somebody and hell, a court, where everything's recorded, and somebody say it doesn't matter, it's not true, you're a liar, and dismiss her history of accomplishments. He's a bigger star. I mean, she was an Aquaman. I'm into Marvel and shit. And I pray for her. I hope she gets her life back as much as one can, because it might be like one of those Anita Hill things, where Anita Hill was one to come out in the 90s against Clarence Thomas, and black people sided with him when he said an electronic lynching, and he hated black people, had a history of not supporting black people legally. And look at what we got. And Joe Biden led the committee that let him in. And he was a Democrat. Clarence Thomas was conservative Republican. Joe Biden has a history of this. He also has a history with women, allegedly. You should probably look up the woman named Tara Reid. See how she feels about that. And no, it's not easy to come out. And there are women, and the number of women I felt like that were against Amber Heard, I found it disgusting. Because some of those same women have actually been abused. Like the domestic violence survivors that wrote an open letter and said, we don't believe you. Yeah, I know, because you love Johnny Depp. Because you're in love with Pirates of the Caribbean. You want another movie. So what? So what if she threw something at him after he fucking beat her? Like, what? That's called self-defense. Cut it out. And then they're like, well, why were you recording him? Why were you egging him on? Because she knew she was going to need fucking evidence. That's why. Because not all the time when somebody punches you across your face and you end up in the floor, do you immediately think, how am I going to prove this? Hell, you could have ringing in your ear. Anything. So yes, like her lawyer said at the end, if you don't take a picture, it didn't happen. If you don't take video, it didn't happen. And then when it did, she's lying, she's making it up. She instigated. She instigated that level of abuse. You think women like getting punched? And I heard that dumb shit come out of people's mouths before. Because I was in college when the Rihanna and Chris Brown thing went down. And this dumb bitch I was rooming with said to me, well, she didn't leave, so she must like it. Yeah, I guess that'll go, right? Until your head gets rocked, you dumb broad. And there's women who have been abused who gaslight other women, really, because they in denial about the shit they've gone through. Even when people didn't believe them. Now that's some psychology shit for your ass. Somebody needs to deal with that. Because that's victim blaming on a whole nother level. So I say this to say, domestic victim violence, domestic victims of domestic violence. Even if I don't know you, never heard you, don't know your name, could walk past you and have no idea that's what you're going through, just know I'm praying for you. I really do pray for people across the world. Just like, you should now laying down to see pretty well my soul to be I should have before I wake up pretty well my soul to take. God bless mommy and daddy and, all your siblings and then your teacher, everybody in the whole wide world. And I still pray that prayer. And of course, as I've gotten older and seen more things, the kids who don't have parents, the kids who are abused by parents, The women who are being trafficked and don't know how to get out. And you deserve better. And honestly, Amber Heard, it took a lot of courage. And no, I don't think you're a liar. I think you got shitted on in court. And as a black person, especially a black woman, it's all too familiar for me to not say anything. So take what you want from this, but I said what I said. All right.